every year at the Christmas time. All people trying to be happy, have a quality time with their family. Also make sure that they have a quality time with them. But as always, there's a dangerous psychopaths out there that they are looking forward for these events to cause a serious problem for those people in order to just satisfy themselves. Welcome to another video. Today we're about to watch the animations based on the true events which happened in the Christmas time. And again, this animation is from IMR Scary Tales, their channel. I'm gonna leave the link in description. Just go watch it. They are really, as I mentioned before, they are really good at making animations. So let's don't waste the time and get into this.
December had only just arrived when it happened. I was a mere 10 years of age, still naive as to what awaited me in the outside world. Every year, at the start of December, when the snow began to fall and the air froze, my family and I would dash out into the fresh morning snow, spending the entire weekend building snowmen, snow forts, and having snowball fights. But one year, we were met with a ghastly occurrence.
One thing, first of all, I really love this whole view when it's snowy and just like taking your coffee, looking outside and enjoying the snow. That's one of the things that I'm really enjoying every day at the Christmas time. Just looking at the view, looking at the snowy buildings and like snowy nature.
Changed how we saw Christmas. The Friday that came before the first weekend of December, my family and I were all raving about our excitement towards the snow that was to come the next day, and our plans for what we were going to do in it. I went to bed soon after, brimming with anticipation, so much so that I could hardly sleep. I spent that night staring out of my window as a blanket of white covered it, drooling down the glass pane. Throughout the silence, I could make out the extremely faint noise of shuffling coming from outside, even the mild crunching of snow below boots. I wouldn't be surprised if people were already out as the snow fell, lavishing in it before the morning came out. What I found slightly unnerving was that the sound seemed to be coming from my garden. I remember it was at this point that my eyes began to close, and I was quick to fall into a great deep slumber soon after. The next morning I leapt out of bed, throwing open the wardrobe and piling on all the clothes I could find, preparing myself for the adventure outside. I could hear my sister and father doing the same, and I was sure my mother would join us later, after her lie.
Sometimes when these things happen, that you feel something like something is happening around yourself, especially just sometimes when you're alone at your home, especially if you watch scary movies or horror movies, that makes it worse. But it happens that you really think something is happening. You hear footsteps, you're hearing the knocking on some place at your house, and all this is just some nature stuff, some it's not really something that, I mean, now I have this knowledge that I know those things aren't anything that makes me scared. Like when I was a kid, that was a hell of nice with that sounds, with that knocking, like thing. Sometimes you think someone is knocking on the wall or something like that.
Once ready, we all hurried down the stairs, bursting into the kitchen, grabbing the set of keys that opened the back door. As the keys twisted, I could already feel the cold gripping onto me, but the adrenaline kept it at bay. The door swung open. There was no snow, only weak little clumps dotted around the drenched grass. I could feel my heart sink, as well as that of my father and sister.
No snow, eh? It's alright. Let's go put on a film instead. Come later.
My father was extremely optimistic for the circumstances, but as they walked off with weighted steps, it looked like lines, like the snow had been removed systematically.
Yeah.
But
I think
by who? I didn't think it was worth the trouble to think about, so I closed the door and joined my family for a movie. That night, the same routine played out. I laid in bed, watching as faint drops of snow drizzled from above, severing my vision from the outside world. That night, the same routine played out. Simultaneously, I was able to hear the sound of crunching grow louder and louder from outside. I crept out of my bed to look out the window, but the snow was too thick to see further than a couple of meters.
Dang.
I went back to bed, crossing my fingers, begging for the snow to remain. I slumped on my winter wear and joined my family as we walked down the stairs, making our way over to the back door, with a general air of fatigue hanging over us all.
Something funny about this. I don't know why they don't just father just check the outside every morning to just tell them if is there any snow on the ground or not. Like they have to just dress up, go outside, and just see the like. Oh, there is no snow. that's kind of yeah.
Once again, the door creaked open, only to reveal yet again no snow, only subtle lines in the soaking wet grass.
It's clearly
My
someone
father
with
said
no
the same thing as before, but I couldn't hear him. I was far too concerned with the lying grass. Dad, why are there lines in the grass?
Probably just from how the snow melted. But cheer up. Another movie day never hurt anyone.
Once again with the optimism. I wasn't entirely convinced, but what else was there to do? And with that, we all wandered drearily over to the sofa and spent the rest of the day watching movies. Then came the evening. It was pitch black outside when I heard a noise rustling about in the garden. I looked at my family, seeing if any of them heard it. Until all of a sudden, a loud bang hit the window.
Oh,
Alarmed, we all leapt up out of our skins. My sister began to cry, and my mother and father looked frantically at one another, then towards the circle of snow dripping from the window. My father motioned for my mother to grab my sister and move to the back end of the living room. He then made his way over towards the window, searching for the source of the noise. He came closer and closer until his nose was practically up against the window, trying to peer out into the thick darkness. His expression dropped. Following me, I peered out the window next to him, and my eyes met with the dark figure outside. I stopped, feeling my blood freezing out of fear. My father beckoned for me to step back, to which I obliged as he opened the window.
Look at that.
Hey! What the hell do you think you're doing? We got kids in here! Leave now or I'll call the police!
My dad shouted, waving his phone around. The man just stood there,
Look at this
holding a
guy.
snowball in his right hand, grinning wildly. My father closed the window,
Bro, this guy
shutting
is
it
a
tightly,
barefoot.
dialing
you know?
the police as he did so whilst I stared at the man, feeling my eyes welling up with fear. He slowly raised his left hand and pointed a finger. First towards me, then towards him. As we waited for the police, the man refused to leave. Instead, he remained standing there, grinning. Eventually, the police entered the house.
I mean, like in the big cities, in the big like America, like big states, every states have it's like huge, they're not small like every of those like states in America, like especially you know what I'm saying. I don't need to really explain this. I think so. When I mean, where I live, it's not that big, so there's a like very low chances that some stuff like this happen, because if anyone just go crazy or any crazy guy just wants to like walk around, they're gonna notice, and before causing any trouble, they're gonna call the cops, and it's gonna happen, like fast as possible. Like, they're gonna. But when the city is too big and there's a lot of people, especially with this type of family house with the like garden and stuff, because in a lot of cities they're just living in apartments. There's not a lot of houses, so it really it's not something that happen in every country, but in America there's a lot of family houses, as you know. So this is probably one of those things that happens in the big cities, not small ones, because as I mentioned, they're gonna call the cops fast as possible before anything wants to happen.
By the time they went out, he was gone. My father and I went out there with them, and after an extremely short search, the true horror became clear. Behind the shed, the only thing in the garden was a man-made igloo. This was where the snow had gone.
What the
This man had been just meters away from us for the last 2 nights. He may have left for now,
Super
but
creepy.
there was no telling what he was waiting here for. What if we had gone out there? Every year since, we checked the entire garden in case he returns. We weren't safe. Christmas is now rotten with fear. Christmas is usually a time of peace and joy, but sometimes It's a time when the strangest and most horrific things can happen. The story is from when I was a kid. At that time, I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't run away from home or call the police. At that time, I could only depend on my parents to protect me. And the moment they couldn't do it, I came face to face with death and almost didn't survive to tell the story. Truth be told, Christmas didn't used to be my favorite holiday. Make no mistake, I enjoyed the presents, the food, and the arrival of Santa Claus. But since my whole family was quite young and my parents had me when they were very young, I was the only boy in the family, except for my oldest aunt who had a baby.
As I mentioned first of the video, it's like happening, like people are too, like they're too happy for this. This is a base of humanity. Like people are just looking for something to celebrate, be happy with their family, with their friends, and that's completely normal. Then when you're happy, when you have this kind of time with your friends and family, you don't really think about the dangerous stuff, that stuff out there that can like really cause a problem for you. And also those people with that, like psychopath people, they know that they really, you really don't think about this thing. That's why they are, that's a high like those things happen mostly in the specific time, like Christmas or I don't know, Halloween maybe, that they're like those clowns like moving around, like there's a lot of clowns you see videos, like the clowns, like the people making themselves look like clown and go out and cause them problem for all people.
It was really very boring, since the party where the children were supposed to enjoy the most turned into a boring family dinner for adults. After we all gathered at the table to eat, I went to the dining room to play alone. And that's when it all started. At that moment, I thought maybe I had seen too many horror movies, but I could have sworn I saw someone through the window, as if a shadow had run past.
God damn it!
I approached the window to get a better look, but I couldn't see anything. I thought maybe it was my imagination. Behind the window was a man with a terrifying demon mask. The mask had a huge grin on it. From behind the window, the man tapped on it slowly and pointed to the front door. As a kid, my first impulse was to walk away slowly. The man turned his head in disappointment. After that, he left the window and went in the direction of the front door. A few seconds later, someone started banging on it.
That must be Henry with the beer. I'll go get it.
Dad, don't open it! It's not Uncle Henry! It's a man in a demon mask!
What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind, Joshua? It's your uncle.
There was just a man at the window with a demon mask. I swear it's not Uncle Henry!
Hesitantly, my dad went to the door and looked through the peephole.
Yeah.
After doing so, he raised his head and opened the door. My first instinct was to run away, but I stopped when I saw a familiar face. It was my Uncle Henry, just like my dad said.
Josh just mistook you for a demon.
I knew I shouldn't have got that haircut.
Dad, I'm serious! There was a man with a mask in the window!
Josh, I know you're bored, but you can't scare adults like that. You always do that.
I'm serious this time, I swear!
Without listening to me anymore, my dad had gone back to the kitchen with my uncle to put the beer away. I don't know how much I could blame him for not believing me. As a kid, I used to make up imaginary friends. And that night, my dad was a little too drunk. I was very scared of this man, so I decided to continue playing in my room, going just in case. I locked the door with a chair. I spent a few minutes bored, knowing that at midnight my parents would come to pick me up to watch the fireworks. But I started to fall asleep. I didn't think I could stay awake a minute longer.
Josh, come down! It's already midnight. They're shooting fireworks.
From my bedroom window overlooking the courtyard, I could see beautiful fireworks covering the whole sky.
Don't look down.
I stared out my window. My family was already outside, watching the huge amount of lights in the sky. Suddenly, someone started banging on my door.
Coming!
I was about to open it when I realized something. I looked out the window again. There's Mom, Dad, the uncles, grandparents. They're all downstairs. Then, who's banging at the door?
Kid, could you open the door for me, please?
Shit.
I just want to talk.
It's you! The guy with the mask! Get out of here or I'll tell my parents!
Oh, you don't want to do that. I'll be very angry.
Desperate, I opened the window and shouted to my parents.
Dad! Mom! Help! There's someone trying to get in my room!
At that moment, my parents got scared and tried to open the backyard door, but they couldn't do it. It was locked. Someone locked it from the inside.
Holy shit.
They started kicking it in desperation. Meanwhile, the voice behind me got louder and louder.
Didn't you hear me? I told you I would be angry!
Get out of here! I'm not opening it!
Oh, come on, Josh.
Dude, that's
you
so
like
creepy.
where I'm
I'm not
taking
kidding.
you? It's full of children's corpses you can play with.
Help!
Josh, you know what I did to them all? I strangled them. I did the same thing I'm going to do to you. I squeezed their necks with my huge hands and watched their lives go.
While he was saying this, the man with the mask was about to break the door. I saw the wood begin to break little by little. It wouldn't resist much longer. I looked out the window again. My whole family was still trying to break into the house any way they could. My father grabbed a rock and threw it at the window outside, breaking it. At that moment, the pounding in my room stopped. I looked back at the door. There was no one trying to break it, but someone was still behind it.
You know, Joshua, I've been watching you for weeks. When you get out of school, when you hang out at your friends.
I mean, wasn't he able to just go through that window and go to the another room maybe? Because that's that family house have this kind of, it's kind of, you know, you can go out of and walk through that, forget the name of it, sorry. You know what I'm saying, right? So just go out and go through that to the other window and go to the another room maybe. So it's gonna make, and maybe hide till your parents can just get in the house and kick this guy's butt. Bro, that's so creepy. There's just someone just get in the house and you know your parents are not able to just open the door. I mean, that's so creepy. It is.
Steven's house, when you go swimming. I could kill you whenever I want. I just wanted to do it at Christmas, to make it special, like I did with the other boys.
While the man was talking, I heard my dad come in through the broken window and shout from below.
Josh!
Next time I see you, little boy, I'll make sure it's not special. You're going to suffer a lot.
The voice was gone. A few seconds later, my father came up the stairs and into my room. A few seconds later, my mother and my aunt and my uncle came in. This time, no one doubted my story, as they all saw how someone tried to force my door open. When the police arrived, I listened as my father told them everything that had happened. At that moment, the psychopath not only took advantage of the fireworks to get in, but locked the door from the inside. After hearing the story, the cops assumed that everything was planned for me to stay in the house with them. All he had to do was watch us and wait for the moment to strike. And that's exactly what happened. After that, I didn't leave the house for weeks. There was always someone with me, and the police were always around. One night in February, the police came to my house telling me,
Bro, the cop is Giga Chat. Look at that jaw. He's like ready for a Mission Impossible, the next episode. He's really ready for it. God damn it.
they had caught the man. He called himself the Grinch. And as he told me, he was guilty of many disappearances of children my age, whose bodies turned up buried in his yard. The motive for the killings? He just wanted to make a name for himself, and thought there'd be nothing more shocking than killing children. Nothing was the same from that day on. Many years later, I still go to the psychiatrist because of that man. Every time I sleep, I dream about what would have happened if I hadn't locked the door to my room. I dream of him hanging me as promised. I dream that I'm a boy again and he comes looking for me at my school. I dream that once again, I'm helpless. He may be condemned to life in prison, but at the same time, he is still with me, and I feel that he always will be.
Well, I'm about to make several episodes about this Christmas true horror stories. I hope you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And if you know any like this type of stories which happened to you, first of all, you can email the stories to the to this IMR Scary Tales, so they're gonna make the actual animation from it, or you just can leave a comment, and we're gonna share this stuff together, right? So we just see what's happening, and we'll talk about it. Maybe one day I'm gonna make a video about your comments. So see you next time.